Welcome to It All Boils Down to This, the podcast where father and son take the kitchen table arguments and heated discussions from their home directly to yours. Jim and Jack Boyle will explore the world as only they can. We might even let a few guests join the fun. So sit back, choose a side, watch the water temperature rise, and enjoy stimulating generational conversation about sports and life. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 5 of It All Boils Down to This, and today in studio with Jack and myself, we are honored to have Justin Trevisani, the son of my other co-host, and we've seen enough, Tommy Trevisani. Justin, welcome to the podcast, and just give us a little background on who Justin Trevisani is and what we should know about him.
First of all, Jim, I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. Thank you, Jack, as well. Have a tough act to follow. The first 4 episodes of this have been excellent. Last week with Kevin, fantastic show. So I was really excited to come on here today. For anyone who doesn't know, us three, me and the Boyle family, we go way back. Very grateful to have these guys in my life. They've done a lot for me. Grew up playing basketball and baseball together. Jimbo, one of the best coaches I've had. So yeah, just looking forward to chop it up with these guys a bit today.
Go us.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, until we get into the meat and potatoes, Justin, we've known you, since like 3rd grade, Indiana, Iowa basketball. I got tape of that, too. We talked about it with Kevin, right? What are your memories of those battles between the two worst teams in the league?
A lot of bad basketball. That's what I remember. The last game of the year, Iowa, that was the first game we won all year. I think we finished 1-9. Beat Indiana in a tight one. That was a memorable game.
Yeah, so I don't remember that game at all, which is the only game. I mean, that was 3rd grade. The only game I remember from that year is the one against Wisconsin, which
we won't talk about it anymore because I get busted on for that a lot. Justin, on that
was
game,
that the gym game?
That was no. That was the just we lost. We could have beat, like, it was Billy and Chris and like a couple guys, and we could have beat them, and he wouldn't put like the good players back in the game at the end. And Jay Swami put Greco and Billy back in it. Yeah,
that team was loaded.
Yeah, they
had Alec and Josh Barnicki, I think. They were good.
To put it in perspective, the rules were everybody was supposed to play equally. It was rec basketball, and that's how I play it. I played it as it lays, as they would say in the big leagues. So, Justin, we also got to play travel basketball with you guys for 3 years with your dad, Tommy, and my co-host on We've Seen Enough. Recollections of those 3 years and how actually that team really got better and better as the year went on.
Yeah, travel basketball, those were some of the best memories of my life. 8th grade, I would say, was definitely our best year. So, yeah, like you said, we got better and better since Jack came in 6th grade to the time when we ended in 8th grade. Lost to Billerica in the championship in 8th grade, but a lot of good memories. Playing 50 or so games a year, double headers on Saturday, starting Saturday mornings, maybe with some other sports mixed in too. So it was a lot of hectic times, but it was fun. Yeah,
those 50, I'll get you a Jack. Those 50 games, we played like 52 games, and I think I have the stats for every game for the 3 years, and we have videotape of almost a lot of the games in 8th grade where we actually played well. Just a couple of words of your coaching staff, not me, Tommy and good old Freddie Baroni. What do you think? First, what was it like being coached by your dad?
I mean, as you guys know, a lot of trailer and corner. A lot of emphasizing the shooting on the team, getting it to the open guy on the wing. But a lot of my basketball knowledge, a lot of my basketball skill comes from him. So I was lucky enough to be coached by him. And then Fred, one of the best basketball minds I knew growing up, coached me from 5th through 8th grade, taught me a lot. And then with you on the bench too, 3 great coaches, and it definitely helped us improve as we went on.
I used to like the outfits of the coaches too. I forgot about that last week. Coach Fred, he'd always be in his full like Jordan tracksuits, and then you and Tommy T would be in the polos and all that. Yeah. So another thing, because last week with Kevin, we talked about our 3 travel years and how the team, like, did the team get better, improve, or did the league get worse? And well, the team did get better a little bit over the 3 years. The league really did get worse. But for Jay Trev, he was on the team in 5th grade, and he can actually say the team got a lot better from 5th grade to 8th grade because the team did change a ton from 5th grade to 6th grade. I think half the team changed, basically.
Yeah, and in 5th grade, the other big thing was we played the entire Merrimack Valley. So we were playing all of the A teams that
Ooh.
That our Wilmington A team
like
was
Lowell. They were
year.
playing like Lowell A.
Lowell A, Billerica A,
Yeah.
Salem.
Wilmington A.
Yeah, Salem. I remember
Wilmington
them,
A.
yeah.
So that year we went 3-27, and we won one of the last games of the year, and that was our only Merrimack Valley win. It was against Drake. Very memorable game in the old high school gym.
Did you get the other 2 wins? Was it like you played like a rec league?
That were like tournament games. I honestly forget who those 2 wins were against. They were early on in the year.
It was a long time ago, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good memories.
That's good. So, again, the other thing that we talked with Kevin about this is I was lucky to be able to have the 4 of you with Greco. Chris is not here yet, but he'll eventually get in. Chris, Jack, Kevin, and Justin to take trips. We took the trip down to Philadelphia like every year for like 5 years to see Temple and play. We saw the Palestra games for basketball. We saw the games at the Link for football. And we actually did take that fun trip out to Notre Dame. Any memories you want to bring up before we start making fun of you on the travel on the trips with Justin stories that we have?
You want me to like bring up a memory of myself? Like,
not yourself. What do you remember? What's something you remember about? What do you recall? What was it like? What did you enjoy about that stuff? What did we do? What bought a cheesesteak? We forget that we made fun of Kevin for that. But what do you have?
I mean, honestly, some of the most memorable times are in the car rides. Those 4 or 5 hour car rides out to Pennsylvania, out to Jersey. A lot of funny. That was during the travel basketball days, early high school days. A lot of talk about sports. My dad came along for a trip. So everything from the car rides with Chris and Kevin, a lot of funny quotes, a lot of funny memories. And then once we got to Pennsylvania, being able to spend some time with Jim's family, Jim's parents, Jim's nephew, Rob, Randy.
Farmer's Market.
Yep, Farmer's Market.
Ping pong, because J-Trev went to the old house, so we played ping pong like the whole time.
Oh, ping pong was so fun.
I forgot about that. J-Trev got to go to the old Boyle homestead, which they sold on me about 7-8 years ago. Yep. But that's fine. Yeah, those were great trips. Jack.
So originally we did this last week with Kevin, just kind of funny Kevin memories from the trips. I was just while J-Trev was just talking, I just thought of maybe like 5 really good J-Trev stuff. So me and you can go back and forth because I know you have one. I'm going to start with one that we didn't discuss prior, but we went to a Temple game, and for some reason, him, Kevin, and Chris sat on like the other end of the stadium, and we sat because you had season tickets. So we sat in your season tickets, and I heard the story. J-Trev might have to confirm. J-Trev got in a fight with J-Trev wasn't that old. J-Trev was probably 16, 17 years old. He got in a fight with like a 10-year-old Steelers fan who just completely owned him because he was just talking trash about the Steelers, and the kid came back at him like, well, we have 5 Super Bowls and you have 4. I know it would be a lot different if he got in that fight today, but I remember that was a funny story, J-Trev getting in a fight with a young Steelers fan.
Yeah. J-Trev, didn't you have the story at Notre Dame? You had the real dude hammered in front of you? Is that
He was next to us, yeah. It was more than just hammered. The guy that was on drugs at Notre Dame, remember him? He was like waving around.
The Notre Dame trip.
What about the guy behind us who, remember he was yelling block?
Block O-line, yeah.
Who was on that line?
McGlinchey and Nelson. And they ran for like 450. They had like 2 guys run for 200 yards that game.
Like block what? Like they were 2 top 10 picks.
Yeah, no, that's a memory, him getting in the fight there. And then you have one, right?
I have about 6. But,
the one,
my favorite.
There's 2 in Chicago that happened
like within
half hour of each other. Yeah.
So, Justin, I won't embarrass you on the building one because that's kind of embarrassing, and I'll let you slide on that. If anybody wants to know that, we'll talk about that next time we have on. But we have taken these kids; they're about to be seniors in high school. My wife Kelly and I, we fly out to Chicago. We get on the tram from Midway into the city. We were staying at the Hyatt on the river, right on the river. Beautiful, like 25-story high buildings. And they also have what we call like the little snack bar in the room. So not only was there alcohol, which they couldn't touch, but all these snacks, Snickers bars, Milky Way, M&Ms, everything. First thing I told the kids was, when you go into the room, you do not take anything out of the bar. You don't take anything to eat or anything. So I let them go. Jack goes in the room. Kelly and I go in our room, clean everything up. So I go, Kelly, I'm going to check on the boys. And I go in there, and Justin, I don't know what it was, whether it's M&Ms or a Snickers bar or something. He's about to rip the damn thing open. I said, Justin, what are you doing? He goes, I thought these were for free. So I said, Justin, we'd have to pay like $5 for a bag of M&Ms. I said, I'll take you downstairs. But, it was just about the kids were that trip was a great trip, and everyone had fun. And, we went to Wrigley and saw the Cubs. We drove out to Notre Dame and saw the Notre Dame game. They had deep dish pizza for breakfast the last morning we were there. And again, my memories of those trips are there's a million different memories of taking Justin and Jack and Chris and Kevin on those trips, and you just, I mean, I can't even count them on two hands. So that's what I would think.
That's one more to go to get off Jay Trevin. We can go back at Kevin. Kevin at Wrigley had a because we talked about him ordering a hot dog at Richie at Pat's Steak and Cheese in Philly. He had a very hard time at Wrigley Field. He tried to order like a plain hot dog. they had no idea.
I remember that one.
Justin, the food stories are just phenomenal. Anything you remember? What's your biggest memory of that trip to Notre Dame, other than the drunk guy, the hammered guy in front of you, and no offensive line?
I would say the day going to Notre Dame's campus. Before the game, we got to walk around a little bit. Went in the dining hall. At that point, that was the best dining hall I'd ever seen.
You've been to UMass now?
Huh?
You've been to UMass now?
Then, yeah, but I mean, Notre Dame was,
it was
in
phenomenal.
my mind, it was really good.
Good.
But, walking around, seeing all the different buildings, I had never seen a campus like that before, and to this day, I still haven't. But, there's that funny picture with me in front of the building going like this.
Yeah.
What's that?
Touchdown Jesus,
Touchdown
baby.
Jesus, yep. And I still talk about that to this day. And then how you can see that from inside the stadium.
Correct.
So just that day, seeing the game, seeing the Temple Owls play Notre Dame, that was a really cool day overall.
2 times Temple. I've been to Temple at Notre Dame, and both times they played the wrong quarterback. So just kind of sucky, but
both
whatever.
times was a new coach, first year coach who picked the wrong QB. I thought we had a better shot the second time than the first time. But,
yeah, except I think the second time was even worse for Temple. The first time, that first time, that Notre Dame team that they played, I think ended up was one of the worst Notre Dame teams in the past 20 years.
They had a shot at that, but it was fun. I mean, those trips, even going down to Philly and over Thanksgiving and seeing them play at the Link, and then I think we doubleheaded them we doubleheaded twice. No, once. We took you down for the Palestra.
Yep.
You went to the Palestra once.
I've been to the Palestra
Twice, because one wasn't. Your dad was supposed to go the second time. He couldn't go.
Right.
So my dad went with us.
That's
that was the Streamers against LaSalle. And the first time was with your dad. They played Penn. We sat behind the other basket.
Okay.
And the Owls played absolutely correct.
Did they get beat that game, or did they had like a 20-point lead and blew it, or did they end up getting beat?
They didn't get beat.
I remember that. It was Josh Brown's debut. He was DMing me and Jay Trev on Twitter.
That's a cool place to see a game.
So we did that. So
we saw the Palestra the second game, the LaSalle one. Bobby Knight was calling the game.
Correct.
Wow. I think they took him off the air.
Yeah, they had enough. or we've seen enough of him.
Yeah, but that was a Streamers game when we couldn't figure out why they were violating on the free throws. Remember that? They got the technical free throws and they would stand up in front of the line.
That was Dunphy and I don't know who was coaching LaSalle at the time, but just a traditional Big Five work. Justin, really, the reason you're here, though, we're going to bring you in. Your football knowledge, NFL knowledge is beyond compare. We'll talk about later in the show what your jobs were. You were in Indianapolis working for the Colts. Now you were down at Harvard working for Harvard. But you really have a good, vast knowledge of professional NFL because you've lived it. So we just want to let's talk about yesterday. The Patriots lost to the Eagles, tough loss for them, and just in general the opening day of NFL. And then Jack and I will put on some predictions of what we think is going to happen in a weird week. So what do you got? Give us the Patriots your thoughts about yesterday's Patriot-Eagle game.
Yeah. So obviously the Patriots fell down pretty quickly, 16-0. And they were doing some pretty uncharacteristic things that the Patriots usually don't do. They were pretty much handing the Eagles, turnovers, bad penalties. But after that first quarter, things really started to settle down. Bill O'Brien started to get in a little groove play calling, and Mac was picking his spots in the middle of the field that he likes to take advantage of. And then from that point on, it was a football game. It's pretty... you look at the rosters between the Eagles and the Patriots, and it's pretty easy to say that the Eagles have a more talented roster. But if you look at the way those final 3 quarters were played yesterday, you really couldn't, tell much of a difference other than the Eagles coming out on top on the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Jack?
Well, the Eagles, the one thing, I do think the Eagles will probably take a step back this year. A little bit from last year. I mean, last year they were incredible. They lost one game. What it hurt to go 14-1. They lost 2 games in total and then lost in the Super Bowl. They did lose both their coordinators, right? So that's a problem. Their head coach seems to be one of the biggest idiots I've ever seen. I mean, him going for it on 4th down there when just pump the ball and make Mac Jones go 90 yards. I mean, they end up getting away with it. But, yeah, I do think they're going to take a step back. But I'm not a huge Patriots fan. I don't know if you are, but I feel like if you're a Patriots fan, you almost come away from that game kind of feeling pretty good about the Patriots, right?
Absolutely.
Even in a loss.
Well, can I jump in there?
Obviously, there's no more victories in the NFL, but I think they can play with the big boys, the Pats. They can.
Absolutely.
Their defense is good enough. Mac Jones can make enough throws.
I don't know. I don't think any loss is a good loss. Or I understand what you're saying, Jack. But you lose, you lose. It's game. They had the opportunity to win the football game. I think they could have won the football game. They didn't. How they mature in the next 2 or 3 weeks is going to be important. But I agree that it was a good. If there's anything as a good loss, it was a good loss because it showed Mac can play with the boys, but it didn't show Mac could go. He couldn't even drive 55 yards.
They also they shot themselves in the foot early in the game. I mean, that's not going to happen every game. I know that it's football, that you can't take the first quarter away, but they did really put themselves in a bad spot.
And also, there were 3 very clear instances where they failed to capitalize on some pretty favorable situations. So there was that situation where they didn't kick the field goal. Mm-hmm. We were talking about that for a while. They could easily put those 3 points on the board at the start of the fourth quarter. Were there 9 minutes left?
Yeah,
there was so much time left.
There was way too much time to go for it, I felt.
Yeah, exactly. So you get those points on the board. You trust your defense. You get down to 5. Even if the Eagles kick a field goal, you're still down 8. It's a one-possession game. Later on, Jalen Hurts scrambles, doesn't slide. He fumbles. Pats get a short field. They can't do anything with it.
Right, I forgot about that one.
And then later on, the Sirianni decision that you talked about, the Pats have a shorter field now, just before midfield, and got a first down. Really looked like they had a chance to go down and capitalize, score a touchdown. But there was that first down play call. Me and Jim talked about that one.
Where they threw the ball deep into the end zone. Right?
Yeah,
it was a non-Mac Jones play. But you know what?
Yeah.
The more I think about it, Bill O'Brien, it was a quick strike kind of thing. He probably thought he might have had the matchup he was going to get, but I agree with him on that. That was a tough one because it put him behind the sticks.
Behind the sticks, 2nd and 10. They know you're passing now, so they tee up. Their edge rushers, which we know are good, tee off, get to Mac, sets up a 3rd and long. Trying to get some yardage back to. It's 4-down territory at this point, so you try to set your out for something favorable.
Right.
So you kind of call a predictable short screen. That gets stifled for a few yards. And then, it's a 4th and long at the end of the game, and against a defense like the Eagles, that's tough to convert.
So here's my hypothetical question from that game.
Okay, go.
Say the Patriots do kick that field goal. They're down 2. Game plays out like it does. Sirianni, they were on, the 40-yard line when he went for that?
I think it was 45.
Now, look, there's no way he would have not punted the ball if it was a 2-point lead. But do you think there was a chance he still would have went for it if they only had a 2-point lead in that game?
I have to say, I think there is.
Then the Patriots would only need, 20 yards?
I've been thinking a lot about that because if that's, we always bitch about people when they're playing Bill Belichick. If that's the way he's going to play, he's going to either win or lose by how he. I think you should have kicked no matter what. I don't care whether you think you got the biggest canonis in the world. You got to kick there and make Mac Jones beat you. But his philosophy is probably, I make it here, it's done. We don't have to worry about it anymore. And I have a great play that I can get 5 yards on. Like I said, Jack, you're absolutely right. If they were only up by 2 points, he definitely punched the ball there. Although he might not have. I think
he's that crazy.
Yeah, he might have gone for it. Right, so Justin, what do you think?
I think he still would have went for it.
Even though the Pats would have just needed 25 yards to win the game, to have a chance to win the game?
Knowing what I know about Sirianni and his personality, he doesn't really back down from those things. Right or wrong, you can talk about it all you want, but really in his mind, he thinks his team's going to convert that every time. Yes. And, it's a good quality to have that you have that trust in your team, but, and it paid off for them last year. But in the long run, you don't want to get too aggressive to a point where you're not thinking with your head and you're thinking more on emotion. And he is a very emotional coach. And I think that's pretty much what led to that decision yesterday.
I think the other issue yesterday for the Eagles was the conservative play calling with Jalen Hurts. I mean, let it open up. You brought in all these athletic receivers, and you didn't give them didn't get them in space a lot. And they got real conservative. And now maybe they don't want to get hurt. Then they run the football with Hurts first down. All they have to do is get 1 or 2 first downs. The game's over. And he goes and becomes a running back without holding the ball right. He fumbles the ball. So, he went for it after that play because his defense, he had enough confidence in his defense would stop it. But again, coaching is, we talked about this one podcast with you, Jack, is does coaching have a lot of impact? And in that instance, I think, yes, it did. And in the instance with the Eagles, they should have probably lost that football game.
Yep. And I think what Jack said earlier about losing both coordinators, we'll see how the season plays out for them, but I do think that's a big deal. Brian Johnson's their new play caller, first-time NFL play caller, and he was definitely trying to feel out, get his footing in the league. Shane Steichen proved to be a really good play caller for them last year. So, we'll see how that kind of develops.
Yeah, that'll take some time. So those two, they went, Arizona won, didn't they? Did they end up winning?
The Cardinals?
Yeah.
No, they lost.
To?
The Commanders.
Yeah, it was the Commanders. It was a toilet bowl. I thought they ended up winning. That was a terrible game. So
game.
both their coordinators ended up losing. So let's move on from the Pats game. The Colts. So J. Trev here, he used to work for the Colts for a couple of years, so he's a big Colts fan. There was a crazy play in that game, a crazy double fumble, I guess it was, that put the Colts up 21-17, and was it the fourth quarter? The Colts had a 21-17 in the fourth quarter. I come look back at the game 10 minutes later. It's 31-21. Colts lost. What happened there?
Well, I think that play happened in the third quarter, but that was the score.
At the end of the quarter?
Yeah. So what happened there was there's obviously a strip sack. The Eagles recover the ball. His name was the back who recovered it, the Jaguars, Tank Bigsby. He thought he had a clear recovery. He was kind of standing there with the ball, waiting for a whistle to blow from the ref, and it never came. And the Colts starter linebacker, Zaire Franklin, Philly kid, had a great field awareness, stripped the ball, and the play was live. And DeForest Buckner, Colts star defensive tackle, had even better awareness, picked up, scooped, and score. And like you said, it was one of the craziest touchdowns ever. And with that momentum shift, I can't believe. I really thought the Colts were gonna. I thought they just needed another score, a couple more first downs, because it looked like they had all the momentum to go on and win that game.
The Jaguars last year would have lost that game.
Yep.
Or 2 years ago.
Well, I didn't see what happened. Did they score 2 touchdowns? What, did Lawrence drive them down the field twice in a row, or did the Colts turn the ball over or something?
They drive down one time, and then Anthony Richardson made his first NFL turnover through a pass into double coverage.
Yep. And that's how you lose football games. Turn the ball over, you lose football games.
We'll get about that one. It's college football. Just real quick, Justin, you work for the Colts. Any other overall impressions of the week one? I know Kansas City, a lot of teams got beat that were supposed to be good. Cincinnati got beat with Burrow. Kansas City got beat because their receivers couldn't hold on to the football. Who was the other? San Diego won, but
the Cowboys is another big result in week one because they beat a playoff, not even just a playoff team, but a team that won a playoff game last year, 40-0.
So your overall impressions, real quick.
We'll move on. A lot of interesting results in week one. Before Thursday and yesterday kicked off, the class of the NFL, a lot of people's minds was the Chiefs, Eagles, Bengals, Bills, 49ers, Cowboys, some combination of those teams. And the 49ers and the Cowboys, they made some big statement wins yesterday. Completely blew the Steelers and Giants out of the water. And then you had teams, like the Chiefs on Thursday, their offense was stagnant all night. They're missing their 2 best players, Mahomes and Kelsey and Chris Jones. But to see them lose at home, it's still, and since I've seen them with Mahomes, that's a very rare thing to see. So we'll see how they kind of move on from that. And then, like we already said, the Eagles, they're one of the other teams in the class of the NFL, and we already mentioned them enough. But a lot of interesting results. Jags, they were a team a lot of people had hope for this year. AFC South favorite. They came out. They didn't play their best, but they came out with a W. So.
I want to do my big week one takeaway. So my big week one takeaway is it's from none of those games. It's from one of the games that was kind of mentioned. It's the Bengals-Browns game. So the Bengals-Browns game, I know the AFC is loaded. I know there's a lot. I know Burrow. I know preseason. I know it was wet. Burrow looked horrible. I can't imagine he's going to look horrible all year. I would imagine. I know last year they started off 0-2, and then I think they went like 14-2 leading up to the AFC Conference Championship game that they lost. But my takeaway from that game is nobody, and I said this yesterday, nobody's really wanted to talk about the Browns preseason because of who their quarterback is, and nobody really wants them to do well. But Deshaun Watson a couple years ago, before this happened, had a case for being a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If he gets back to that with the roster they have, with the defensive players they have, with some of the players they have on their offense that they have, I would say they have a chance to win the Super Bowl. No, even as good as the AFC is, why not?
So that actually gives me an opportunity to transition with you guys into predictions real quick. You got the Browns there. You told me like 35 minutes into the game.
I was right.
That the Browns were going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then they end up beating the Bengals, who were very close to making the Super Bowl last year. They destroyed
Jack,
them.
you tend to overreact with everything. Okay, so
Justin,
look,
we have it written down. If the Browns win the Super Bowl,
okay,
I said it first. You heard it here first. The Browns might win the Super Bowl this year.
I got you.
Be prepared for Deshaun Jackson shouting out God, who doesn't like him right now,
Deshaun
when
Watson.
he wins the
Deshaun Watson Jackson. Lamar Jackson.
Deshaun, I can't believe I said that. When he shouts out when he wins the Super Bowl MVP trophy.
Okay,
no
so
one's
who
going
do
to
you
be happy
got
with that.
right now, as we sit here on September 11th? Who do you got? Super Bowl matchup and winner?
Oh, Chiefs. I'm going to go Chiefs Cowboys. We'll go Chiefs.
Chiefs Cowboys. Okay.
You know what? Prescott sucks.
You think Cowboys
But I
get
like
yeah,
Prescott.
okay.
I love Prescott, but I hate Prescott.
Okay, we got Chiefs Cowboys
I can't
for Jack.
talk about my pick. You know what? I
No,
don't know.
you can't.
Cowboys. You know what? I'll go Chiefs Cowboys and I'll pick the Chiefs. I'm not, like I said, for the next 5 till Mahomes retires, I'm picking the Chiefs every year. It's a smart pick.
Oh, it's a
You
smart
just said
pick.
Prescott stinks,
Yeah,
I said he
did.
stinks, but I really like him, but he stinks.
but you still think they make the Super Bowl then?
Well, that's my thing. I think, like, I watched Prescott play against Tampa Bay last year. He's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen in the
And then,
playoffs.
yeah, we've
the
talked
next
about
round,
that.
who they played the next round? Was it the Niners?
Yeah, he sucked.
Or was it the Eagles? I think they played the Niners the next
He
round.
sucked.
They lost to the Eagles.
So they played the Eagles the next round. He was horrendous. Turnover. So, well, okay, I just got distracted there.
I'm just doing my directing job, Jack.
Yeah, okay. So, like I said, that's my take on Dak. He's really good, but he sucks. So that's why I don't know if I'm confident taking them to go to the Super Bowl.
Okay,
but
so you've got
I really like their team.
You've got the Chiefs and the Cowboys. All right, Justin, who do you got?
I got the Bills Niners.
Niners.
I think Josh Allen does it this year. I think he gets the Bills over the top. And I think the Niners are really good. I think Purdy is a perfect quarterback for a Shanahan system. I think them and the Cowboys are the 2 best defenses in the league. But I think the Niners just best roster top to bottom in the NFL, and Shanahan's one of the best coaches and play callers out there. So I think they get there, and I think it's Niners Bills.
So you got Niners Bills. I like that matchup. By the way, I'll switch off a little bit. I'll go with the Bills and the Eagles, even though everybody hates the Eagles right now. But I still have to have faith in Josh Allen last year. I know Jack's got a lot of faith in Patrick Mahomes, but what I watched for that offense and those receiving core, even if Kelsey comes back fully healthy, I think they'll struggle a little bit. I like the Browns. What I saw yesterday, not enough to win. Tua had a great game in Miami, so you never know with them. The Raiders even won a game with who scored? Jimmy G, right? So finally, that McDaniels has his quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And the NFC I think it's wide open. I think the Cowboys, and the 49ers are probably the class of the thing. So I've got the Bills and the Eagles. You've got the Bills and the Cowboys. And you've got the Chiefs and
Bills,
Niners and Cowboys, Chiefs.
I don't think the NFC is actually that wide open. I think there's 3 teams that can win the NFC. There's like 8 teams who I would not be shocked if they won the AFC.
True.
Yes.
There really is. So I would
I'll give you that.
Dolphins. I wouldn't be shocked if they won the AFC. Just how Tua looks, but he'll get hurt. Bills, Jets, Bengals, Browns, Chiefs,
Chargers.
and then the next tier would be the Chargers and like the Jags. But I'll go 6 teams in the AFC I could see winning the AFC.
Okay,
and that's being generous to the
I'm
Browns.
giving you a
after one
6.
game,
So
but I have to be.
Surprise
Did you say
team.
Ravens?
Who could come out of nowhere?
Ravens maybe, but
you're probably going to go Cleveland. Who could come out of nowhere? One team that's
can
going
I
to
pick
shock.
Cleveland?
Yes.
Okay, then Cleveland. Yeah.
Justin, one team that comes out of nowhere.
I'm going to say the Ravens.
Ravens, and I'm going to go with the Jags. I think that team, the right coach and the right quarterback, and they look.
So after the NFC's wide open comment, you didn't take an NFC team to
because I think there's like 5 teams in the NFC that can win, and that's it. There's nobody like Minnesota's not going to surprise anybody, right? Tampa Bay's not going to surprise anybody. They suck. There's 5. I think that you go 8 deep. I take 8 or 7 or 8 in the AFC. I go with that. On to college football. My good friend Jack, give me your college football take of the weekend.
Where
I thought it was Nebraska, Colorado. You bitched about that all weekend.
No, there's no. So what's my take? My take from that game is just I'm so sick of Colorado and this fake personal everything's personal
The
with them.
vendettas they
It's
have against
insults
everybody.
like, you talk down on my coach when nothing happened. They're just making stuff up to motivate themselves, and it's just it's a tired act at this point. It's only been 2 weeks, so I just can't wait till they get beat this year at some point, and then when they get beat, I hope the team that beats them really talks down on them and trash talks them, because they will whine like you won't believe if they get talked to like that after they lose. The way they've been talking to teams after they win, when they lose, and no one will do it to them. But if somebody did do that to them, they will throw a temper tantrum. Dion and his kid there.
With their schedule.
All right, Justin, you're up.
With their schedule, that loss, that's not that far away. Have you seen their schedule?
Well, it's like USC, Oregon's pretty good, right?
The Pac-12 is really good this year, and they have 3 really good skill players in Shadur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and Dylan Edwards. But when you turn over a roster like that and you have all those new guys, I mean, their offensive and defensive lines aren't, at the premier program level. Say, what if one of those 3 guys gets hurt? They don't have anywhere near the depth that, don't get me wrong, I'm giving them a lot of credit for the start to this year. It's an impressive 2-0.
Yeah. Pretty
good, pretty strong out-of-conference schedule. But, it's coming. And, we'll see how they respond. How are they going to – how's Dion?
If you watch that game, they were lucky to not be down early in that game. I mean, the quarterback for Nebraska just kept giving them the ball back. They were going nowhere in the first half on that Nebraska defense. The Nebraska defense was on the field too much, got tired, got gassed. Also quit. I would assume they quit a little bit because our quarterback can't catch the ball out of a shotgun snap. So
I think what Justin makes a really good point there about depth. And the other game I want to talk about.
Can we one more thing about this, about the depth, and he mentioned Hunter, who's playing like over 100 snaps a game. That I know that might be hard to keep up for a 14, 15 game season. Someone did make a good point that he's pretty fortunate to be training all week in high altitude.
Oh, that's helping.
That's helping him because the Colorado's where they train the Olympic athletes because it's high altitude and you train better, whatever, blah blah blah. The Kenyan runners are the best in the world. They're training high altitude, aren't they?
Yes.
So him training high altitude. I just wanted to point that out. I heard that it was
Justin,
Joe Klatt.
Kenyan runners get brought up in the conversation.
That's a pretty good take by me. The Joe Klatt, is that the guy?
Yeah.
He's the color guy. He made that point. Yeah. I really thought that was a good point he made. That's really helping him right now, training in Colorado, being in Colorado.
Yeah, I don't think his issue is going to be, stamina, physical endurance.
I know, but playing 110 snaps is a tough thing to do.
I think his issue is going to be he's going to get popped too many times. You're wear down.
Well, one thing Nebraska was doing to him early in the game was when he was on defense, they were really trying to run into him. They were trying to get guys on him and make him get contact on defense too.
So that's like one of the big stories. Colorado, because they're promoting themselves so much and they're on TV everywhere, and Dion is Dion.
And they are winning.
And they're winning. The other big story this weekend was Texas going into Alabama and just rolling over the Crimson Tide. Nick Saban lost his first non-conference loss in Alabama at home since he's been to Alabama, which is not so much shocking because he is running through a lot of players and everything else, but Justin, take on Texas and Sarkisian, the alcoholic, drunk bastard coach in Texas.
Good coach.
There's absolutely no way that this take and prediction bites me in the ass because, Texas has proven to be pretty reliable.
He's going playoff.
Pretty reliable, in the past.
He's going playoff.
But I think this is the year Texas gets over that hump. I don't think they drop a stupid game that they usually do. I think Sarkisian gets the guys there. I think last year in the Big 12, I think they make the playoff. I think they're one, at least on paper for sure, they're one of the best 4 teams in college football. I think their line play is way better than it has been in the past. And Ewers can play. Their skill talent is up there with the best teams in the country. And I think they're legit. I think they're going to get
I like that take because the Big 12 isn't as good as the Pac-12 this year either.
Not this year.
So they're last year the Big 12, probably not a lot of – there's some competition, but not a lot. And he's recruited and looked forward, offense and defense, to get ready to go into the SEC. So I like that take. Jack, you didn't seem to like that one.
How was that?
Texas.
How was that for a first hot
take
of the podcast?
That's a good first hot take.
What didn't I like?
The hot take of Texas.
Oh, no, I don't mind that. Here's another – I like these hypotheticals that I'm coming up with. Just you both give me an answer here. So obviously the winner of the SEC is going to make it. And the winner of the Big Ten is going to make it, obviously. So that's 2 teams. Say this won't happen, but say this does happen where USC goes undefeated, Texas goes undefeated, and Florida State goes undefeated. who misses out? Texas, probably? No, but Texas beat Bama. That's a bigger win than LSU.
You'd have to look at the
It'd probably
body.
be Florida State.
Have to look at the body. I would say the ACC would miss out because Clemson's not that good. North Carolina was supposed to be good. If
Florida State beat LSU, it depends. What if LSU beats Alabama?
If USC goes undefeated, I think this. If USC goes undefeated, they're in because they will have beaten the whole Pac-12, Notre Dame, and the like. If Texas gets undefeated, I don't know. Texas and Florida State would be an interesting matchup. They probably wish they were at 6 by then. Justin?
No, that's at this point, that's a fun hypothetical.
It could happen.
And it's really hard to answer right at this second, but all I know is it's hard to leave Texas out
with that win
against Bama. I mean, I think, even if Bama, they're not the normal Bama we're accustomed to, even if they end out 10-2, it's still a really good top 10 program. So that's a great win in Tuscaloosa too. And then if they go undefeated, that means they took care of business against a few ranked opponents in the Big 12. So it'd be really hard to leave them out too.
Yeah, meanwhile, Florida took care of business against BC.
Yeah, as we
Florida State. As
we go on, Jack, you had asked a question yesterday about Ohio State, Michigan. The winner of that goes. The winner of the Big Ten goes. I see a path for both of them to make it. I don't see it. There might be one undefeated team. Georgia might go undefeated. I don't think any of those teams are going to go. I don't think they'll get through the whole season unscathed.
I don't know about Florida State.
Yeah, because you never know. They'll crap the bed against Clemson.
With how good their quarterback is.
Yeah,
it's hard
I don't know about
lose.
that one, but
Florida
I would say
State's
that I don't think anybody's going to go undefeated except for maybe Georgia, and I don't even think Georgia's that good this year. So I agree. Any other?
What is your basis for that take?
Because
you watched a lot of Georgia football the past 2 weeks. You just said that.
Yeah, because I still like saying it. Because they turned over a lot of players. It's hard to win, and you got to be. And depth is important. That's why SEC is always good. So my take is very simple. Temple will not make a bowl game. That's my take for the day after that crap performance against our good friends from Rutgers. That's great college football talk. Anything else you want to before we move on, Justin? College football.
Did you see
Harvard starts this week, right?
Harvard first game against St. Thomas, Minnesota.
Ooh, tough match.
Saturday, 1:00.
St. Thomas of Minnesota.
St. Thomas of Minnesota.
They're gonna have some big.
They're the Thomasans.
There's gonna be some big linemen on that team.
Yeah,
gonna have to win the trenches.
They eat good food out there.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm trying to think of anything else happening in college football.
Jim Harbaugh was.
Oh my God, he's another one. All about me. Eyes on me. Eyes on me. He knew where the cameras were when he was working the chains on his 11-year-old son's popular game or whatever it is. He knew exactly. He probably brought the camera himself.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we got to switch over to two more topics before we get on to our fun, and then we'll get to talk to Justin real quickly. Justin, and I love saying real quickly. I told you this. You'll see. You'll count like 6 times. You wanted to give a quick shout out on the Ryder Cup because it's coming up at the end of the month. I'll give you a few words.
So obviously everyone knows, big Ricky Fowler fan. I just want to start with that. Really happy to see my boy Rick back on the team. He missed out on the last 2 Ryder Cups. Big team guy, played really well this year. He was 13th in the standings, so you can make a case that he didn't fully deserve it. But the Ryder Cup qualifications are based on the last 2 years. But if you really look at this year alone, with that big win in Detroit, big finish at the U.S. Open, couple other top 10 finishes, I think he really deserved it. So I'm excited to see how him and the other guys compete in Rome. Excited.
So because Rome is not until the 29th, and I'll be back from my trip, and we'll have a podcast before that. Jack and I will do a Ryder Cup. What's your take on who wins the Ryder Cup, U.S. or Europe?
I think the U.S. does it. I know it's been some time since they've won on European soil, but I think they get it done this year. I think there's been a lot of controversy around the team with some of the picks, taking JT, leaving some of the other guys off like Glover and Keegan Bradley. But I think they get it done. I think, even the Brooks Koepka thing too, that was a lot of controversy there. But, I think a lot of it's overblown in the media. I think a lot of the guys get along well. And I think they're going to play well out there. I think they're going to go into Rome and take it from the Europeans.
Imagine if Justin Thomas didn't get picked to the Ryder Cup team and had to watch Texas come into Alabama and beat them. Oh, that'd have been terrible. They were all ribbing on him because they were in Rome scouting the course, and they were at dinner together. And I saw Scotty Scheffler and Justin Thomas were watching the game together, and it would be like 4 a.m. over there in Rome.
Yeah. So, Jack, we'll get Ryder Cup when I get back.
We already talked about it a couple podcasts ago.
And we'll see what we'll get.
I'm leaning towards the Europeans, I think.
Something huge happened over the weekend that we were privy to get to watch with Jack.
Tennis, yeah.
Now we're going to U.S. Open. All of a sudden, Jack is a tennis fan because of this freak show out of Spain who's going to be the greatest player that ever
Can I
lived.
just explain it?
No, you can't explain it, so I'm done pontificating.
Can I hop in before you say it?
Yeah,
Justin,
go. Whatever, yeah.
I didn't realize on my first podcast, Jim, that you were going to have John McEnroe into the studio sitting next to me. Like, where all of a sudden did this come from?
Johnny Mac. Okay, Jack, you got the floor.
Okay, so the tennis thing's it's quite simple. So normally I always the Wimbledon somehow I feel like it's always ends up when we're on vacation in New Jersey. The Wimbledon final.
Yeah, it does.
So the past 2 years I have watched the Wimbledon final. The 2 years ago is that Nick Kyrgios guy, absolute maniac versus Djokovic. Djokovic just wore him down and Kyrgios kind of had a temper tantrum on the court. This year it was this kid Carlos Alcaraz, right? He is a 20-year-old kid from Spain, and he was playing Djokovic in the Wimbledon final. He actually beat Djokovic, and it was a great tennis match. One of the best tennis matches I've seen. They were going back and forth. Great stuff. And now I start kind of looking more into this Carlos Alcaraz kid. And people are saying he might be the best player ever. He might have the most talent ever. I've never seen, to quote a guy that was just talked about, John McEnroe, because I watched most of his matches in the U.S. Open. John McEnroe, during one of his matches, said, I don't think I've ever seen a 20-year-old this good. So I'm all in. I mean, we're legacy chasing. The next 15, 20 years, we're going for Grand Slam, Grand Slam, Grand Slam. It sucked. It sucked that we lost to Medvedev in the semifinals.
Justin,
it's we.
Who's we, Justin?
we?
Come on, tell me. Who's
It's
we,
we.
Jack?
It's we. It's my sports team. It's like rooting for the Red Sox. It's we.
That's
It's
yes,
Carlos.
in French, by the way.
So it sucked that he lost, and it sucked that we didn't get Djokovic versus Alcaraz again, because I rooted for Djokovic when he went down 2 sets to nothing and maybe the round of 16 here, because I wanted to see that matchup. So that's all. I check this kid out. He's really fun to watch play. Hits these drop shots. His serve's not great. He's got to get a bit more mature with his mind and his game plan. But my God, are we gonna have a fun 15 to 20 years with this guy?
At what age did Federer and Nadal and Djokovic start picking up their?
I wasn't a tennis guy back then, so I don't really know. But I would imagine right around then. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if Djokovic is 36 years old, he's won 24 Grand Slams.
They all started
so he was winning
relatively
pretty
early.
young.
Those guys were pretty good early.
Yeah.
The biggest story of that. I'm sorry, Justin. I'll let you finish.
No,
the biggest story of that thing was Coco Gauff, not anybody else. Nobody cares about Alcaraz and Djokovic.
No.
Coco Gauff was the story of the U.S. Open.
Okay, yeah, because she's American.
Because she's American.
19 years old.
Yeah, 19.
Okay,
not even 20.
What
Yeah, Justin, I'll let you close that.
back-to-back wins over the so-called GOAT.
I'm going to
have
have to mute his mic if he keeps talking
right.
like this.
You asked me about tennis. You bring up tennis, and then you get mad that I talk about tennis.
No.
Okay, we're done talking about tennis.
Justin, do we get mad that he talks about tennis, or do we get mad that he just talks?
Oh, I know. No, me and Jim have been making fun of Jack over this tennis thing, and it's well deserved. But I've actually enjoyed watching some of the finals recently. I watched the Wimbledon, I watched the U.S. Open, and it's like when I got into golf about 5 years ago. It's like I just can't. I'm amazed at how good these guys are. And the biggest thing for me is how good their physical endurance is.
Yeah, they can play 5-hour matches.
It's insane how much.
That's true.
It's crazy how in shape they are. And,
yeah, but a golfer walks like 5 miles.
Oh, I didn't mean to compare it in that sense.
All I'll say is I've watched tennis matches before. I've never connected to a player, felt so. No players made me feel so great about the game and so beautiful to watch as this Carlos Alcaraz guy.
That's it. So we got,
he's beautiful to watch.
We got the football, soccer guy, Jack, and we got the tennis guy, Jack.
Brilliant.
Justin, I got a few minutes before we go on to our 7 wonders. You worked for the Colts for 2 years. You're now at Harvard in the recruiting office. What, Jack?
You know what? Can we call out Jay Trev? Because I just got called out. This is the kid who about a month ago told me that the Red Sox were in prime position to make the playoffs. That take really worked out well for him.
Okay, Justin,
they have a lot of pitching. They're doing well.
Justin,
he said that right before the Astros and Dodgers
series. Are you
series.
Illuminati?
No, I'm not.
Okay, just checking. Kevin didn't know what Illuminati was. Do you know what a Derby is?
I do. It's the same city rivalry.
There you go. Hey, we
Kevin
didn't
even know what that meant.
Kevin went, like that shit.
As a big Liverpool fan like myself,
Merseyside Derby.
Liverpool-Everton, that was one of the biggest games of the year for me.
So back to you. Jack, you got your chance to call him out about that.
Yeah, okay, Abner Doubleday over here.
Can I explain a little bit?
No, because we're not talking Red Sox today. I gotta get.
Let him explain. What are you talking
because
about?
I want to get him moving forward. Okay, Justin, I'll give you 30 seconds to explain.
Okay.
What is this, a debate?
I like the way the Red Sox were playing in the month of July. They were hitting the ball well. They had a few good winning streaks. I'm not going to apologize for having faith in my baseball team.
Oh,
Yeah, your baseball team.
listen, I agree with you. They were exciting in July, beating up all the shit teams.
Well, they did beat Atlanta.
Yeah,
did.
Atlanta. I don't even pick Atlanta.
That was a big win. That was a serious win.
All right, so back to Justin, back to you.
It was just a bad take.
Real quick. There's real quick. I can't say I do it all the time because I want to move along. What? Just give me one. You worked for the Colts for 2 years. You were in the equipment room. You were on the sidelines. Just give us one story about being on the sideline during a game just to give our listeners a feel for what it was like. You were the person in charge of the home balls or the away balls. What are the team Indy balls?
Yeah.
It kind of sounds kind of funny, balls, but
yeah.
Go from there.
No, so home and away games. I was the ball boy. Whole games I spent a half on each sideline. Home sideline first half, away sideline second half. In away games, I was on the away sideline the entire game. So that was kind of interesting. Sometimes got heckled by the opposing team's players, sometimes not. Usually by the divisional rivals. But my first experience ball boying was last preseason. First preseason game of the year was against the Bucks, and I was on the away sideline. And their quarterback last year, as everyone around here knows, was Tom Brady. And I get this tap on my shoulder midway through the third quarter, and I turn around, and it's Tom Brady. And everyone who knows me knows I was, not as much anymore, but I grew up one of the biggest Patriots fans, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I look up and I see, Tom Brady, right behind me. So get to talking a little bit. He was just having some small talk. He just wanted to come up to me because, I was as the ball boy, I was holding some footballs, and I think he was kind of busting my chops, probably. But he wanted to feel the footballs. That's a thing. A few other quarterbacks did that as the season progressed. A lot of quarterbacks like their balls a certain way. So Brady wanted to see how the Colts did theirs.
Yeah, we know about Brady.
What?
Keep
No,
going.
you
Jack, shut up.
No, I know Brady jokes.
Let him go. Go, keep going.
So
It's even funnier that it's the Colts, too.
I know, it is.
Well,
Well,
that's
Yeah,
what makes the story better
Yeah.
because, going back to Deflategate, the Colts, that happened in the Colts-Patriots game, and rightfully so, the Colts, equipment staff, shout out Frog, shout out T, miss you guys, they called out, they reported Brady for using underinflated footballs, totally against the rules. And, Brady, he probably won't admit it to this day, but he clearly still holds that grudge. So, he was like, he even told me, he was like, how's Frog doing? And he was like, tell Frog that, we have some beef still, and I want to resolve it. And, he was like, I'm just kidding. But, we were talking for a full minute. He could tell from my accent I was from Boston, and he said, be careful. You're in enemy territory now out in Indianapolis. So, that was just a really cool experience. One of my first games in the NFL, talking to a childhood idol.
That's good. Good to hear. And when we have you back, we'll go into more because I know you're down at Harvard in the recruiting office. Now you're recruiting smart people who are not like us to play football who are not like us as well. So that's good because Brady actually leads us to what we're going to do on our Seven Wonders.
I can't ask Jay Trev some rapid fire questions.
Okay,
about
go.
His Colts experience.
Go.
So a couple travel questions. Best hotel you stayed in?
Best hotel. I'd probably say the Dallas hotel.
All right, favorite city you traveled to?
Vegas.
And then favorite stadium?
Dallas.
Dallas?
Dallas.
You like that better than like Vegas?
I was lucky last year. I was able to go on a lot of good road trips. Went to Dallas, went to Vegas, went to Minnesota. Honestly, Minnesota Stadium might have been the coolest. But just something about Dallas. I love that environment. It was a Sunday night football game. That was a really cool game. Even the Denver game, Mile High, that's a really cool stadium. Outside, grass field.
I like the Minnesota Stadium because of what happened to the Patriots there once.
I have a question for you.
Yep.
Favorite time Tommy and Lisa came to visit you?
I'd probably say New Year's Eve down in East Rutherford when we played the Giants. It being New Year's Eve and them coming to a new city. They had never been to that downtown area before, and them getting to a new stadium. That was pretty cool.
And one more for you. Most generous player?
Generous, DeForest Buckner. Really genuine guy. One of the best guys in the locker room. And he's one of the best players on the team, and just a true professional, goes about his business, all the right ways, and true captain, good leader.
Jack, you got any more?
I just have one more. It's kind of a joke one, but we've all, or most of us, have seen the infamous videos of J. Trev kind of taking a few shots at the combine, getting hit kind of hard by some dudes when he was holding the pads. Did you ever, because you were on the sidelines, did you ever take any big shots on the sidelines?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I just had that good field awareness. I was able to get
it's
out
funny,
of the way.
J. Trev getting stretched out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, that's J. Trev.
The ball boy from New England is down on the field.
Honestly, my equipment buddies, my bosses, they were pretty good about reminding me all the time, like these guys are moving full speed, 100 miles an hour, and they're big, athletic guys, and they're not stopping for anything. So, just be alert, get out of the way when they're coming. And I was kind of taught that early, so I was always a little paranoid about it during games, maybe too much, but I was lucky to avoid any disaster like that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Jack, for the good questions that we got to ask Mr. Trevisani here. We're going to do the Center for Wonders of the athletic world. We're going to go with all-time quarterback draft. Jack, we'll just go Justin, Jack, Jim.
Yeah.
And then just go through. So you get a pick, make your pick. Let's go through, run around, and then we'll talk about our picks and see what happens. So if you want to explain something. We're going to give Justin the first pick. And, Jack, can we put odds on who gets picked first?
I went 2 last time, so you'll go 2 this time. Because 2 is hard. I think 2 might be a hard pick.
2's not a hard pick.
You know what?
Not for me.
I'll take 2 then. I don't think it's that hard either, because I think I know who we both
now
pick.
we want
All right,
to
just go.
go.
J. Trev, go.
Go.
I'm going to go Brady.
Yep, thanks. Easy. We don't even need to hear. Yep,
Do you want
7.
an explanation? Or?
No, I don't want
The
to hear it.
explanation is because you think he's the GOAT, right? Oh, that's right.
What's his explanation? 7 Super Bowls?
The resume speaks for itself.
Okay.
I'm not like one of these people who think like he's by far and away like the GOAT. But
That makes sense.
He just is.
Jack, you got 2.
Accomplished so much.
We still don't really have criteria for this, like if it's one game, if it's whose career is the best, blah, blah, blah. Number 2, this is a personal preference thing, and he's got less Super Bowls, but Peyton Manning. I think he's all pro set. And people say, who cares about the regular season? Regular season matters. I mean, that's how you get to the playoffs.
I would have gone Manning.
That's how you judge a quarterback.
I agree with
I think Manning was an all pro 7 times, way more than anybody else. So that means he was the best quarterback in the league for 7 seasons.
I agree 100% with Manning. That's who I would have gone with.
Yep.
I'm going to go with my next 2. I'm going to go with Joe Montana as number 3 and John Elway as number 4.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, you just made that hard for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I make it hard for everybody. That's my job here. Montana was a winner. Montana reminds me a lot of Brady. He was on good teams with a good coach who built the offense a lot around him late, and he won. But once he left, they won again with another player who could make the list. Elway went to a lot of Super Bowls and lost early, and once they got him a running game, he started to win. Great leader, great quarterback. But I go Montana, Elway. Jack, you got next pick.
So I'm between 2 guys here. It's just, do I think J. Trev's going to take this other? I'm going to regret this pick, I think, but I'm going to take Dan Marino.
Ooh.
I think he has a case for being maybe the most armed talent of any quarterback ever, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, he never won, and that obviously should be held against them. But if I'm going out for one game, I want Dan Marino above a lot of quarterbacks. And, who would you rather have? Who's a better quarterback, Marino or Elway? Elway's got the Super Bowls, but was Marino maybe a little bit better of a quarterback than him?
They were both the same style of quarterback. Marino they both had great arms. Elway was a little more mobile than Marino. Marino went to Miami. This is way before you guys were born. And Don Shula changed the complete way he coached. All of a sudden, he's got a guy throwing the ball for 4,000 yards. So I like Marino. That's somebody I didn't even think about when I was going there. But that's a nice pick. I'm curious to see who your other pick was going to be after Justin. Justin, you get 2 picks.
That was going to be my pick. So.
I thought he was going to take.
You stole that.
I thought you were going to take Marino and Montana.
No, I was going. I always go Elway over.
You do?
Yeah, because he won.
Okay,
that's all. Justin.
So my next pick here is going to might be a little controversial. I'm not sure where you 2 stand, but I'm gonna go Patrick Mahomes.
So that's who I was deciding between. I was deciding between Marino and Mahomes, and I said I was hoping. I thought there was more of a chance of you taking Marino than Mahomes, and I was hoping I could get Mahomes on the swing back. But yeah, I think Mahomes might be ahead of Marino. I think I just F the draft
bias,
right there. Recency bias. He won as many Super Bowls as Elway, buddy.
I know that. I'm just saying. Okay, so that's fine. I had him as a 1.
Let JJ
go. Go.
Only player ever 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. In his first, 5 years, 6 years, and
I think 3 AFC Championship every year.
Yeah, not bad.
Yep.
Okay, who we got next, Justin?
This one's tough for me. I'm not really a fan of him as an individual.
Wow.
And, I think that...
Did he quarterback Green Bay?
He did quarterback
He's going with the modern guy.
And he's going to be quarterback in the New York Jets this year. I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers.
I think there's a better Green Bay quarterback than him.
Not even close. Not even close. That's a horrible take.
No, it's not. I think there's one quarterback.
Take him. I'm going nowhere near that welfare ripoff fraud. You want to talk about bad
characters?
Talk about bad characters.
This has nothing to do with character.
I'm just saying.
Brady's a fraud. Brady
interception machine.
Brady left the stadium yesterday.
Aaron Rodgers over.
I would take Favre over Rodgers all the time.
Freaking way.
I would take Steve Eric there. Just stick it to Tommy.
Whatever. Okay, I'm going to go here. Jay Trev should have picked him. Legend of the team. Won a ring late in his career. I wrote this down because I don't know a ton about him. 3 MVPs in a time when running backs normally won it. I'm going to go with Johnny Unitas.
Johnny U. There you go. Jack's going old school on us.
I was between him and Rodgers.
Yeah. Well, me and Jay Trev, great minds think alike. This is good.
Great minds think alike. Okay, I got 2 picks.
Nah, I was going to pick Mahomes. I would have taken Unitas over Rodgers, I think.
Yeah.
How many did Unitas only win 1 or did he win 2?
Unitas?
Technically, he won 1.
And then did he win
He won championships before they were Super Bowl. Yep. Right.
Yeah, so there's other quarterbacks here that have whatever they're called, like NFL, whatever they're called.
Right. I'm going to go one guy I think is one of the he wasn't the greatest quarterback he wasn't the greatest passer that ever lived, but he quarterbacked one of the great teams of all time. I'm going to go Terry Bradshaw next because I grew up with the Bradshaw thing, and I really have a lot of respect for a guy who just did his job. I mean, now we know him on the telecast and all that fun stuff. But I'm going to go with him, and then
best TB to ever quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. And my next pick, I'm going to go with who's my number 1 there? I got to look at my list here. Everybody's now down my 2s. I'm going to go controversially here. Another guy who was a winner. I'm going to go with Troy Aikman next.
I like it.
I think you just picked 2 system quarterbacks there, but you know what?
Hey, what is so it's
2
Brady.
Winners.
Brady was a system quarterback too. Jack, you're number 2.
Okay, so again, this is a pick.
You know what, Justin? Jack is always number 2.
I can't talk about, except for when we do drafts, I'm always number 1. I can't talk much about this.
Not with me on here.
Oh, you got Tom Brady. If we put it to anybody
okay, go, Jack. Who do you got?
We could have stopped the draft after the first pick. You would have won. I'm gonna go with American hero, maybe an admiral, Roger Staubach.
He was my pick
very
between
good
him
quarterback,
and Aikman.
but I don't know enough about his career in the NFL or anything to really talk about.
No,
it.
Staubach came out, who went to the Navy, served his 5 years, came out with Landry and the Cowboys.
5 years?
4 or 5 years, whatever these.
What years were it? Was it active war years?
The
or
late
was it
60s,
Vietnam?
in the Vietnam.
So he served in Vietnam.
I don't think he went to Vietnam, but I think he had to serve, and then he came back in and had a really good 5 or 6 year stretch with the Cowboys. Then concussion issues really hit his career. It was between him and Aikman for me, with Aikman winning the 2. I had to go his way. Okay, Justin.
Didn't Aikman win 3?
3, you're right. I forgot. He did win 3. Justin, I'm going to let you go next. You got back-to-back.
My next pick here is going to be Bart Starr. I don't feel that great about this one.
Yeah, it's really
a little bit of a reach.
Starr is like Bradshaw. Starr won a lot.
5 championships.
Yeah, won a lot.
Pre-Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
He was the on-field leader of those Green Bay Packers teams. Him and Vince Lombardi.
Yep.
Kind of dominating that early NFL era. Obviously, I wasn't around to witness him. Really haven't seen many clips of him, but I just think the resume that he established in that early NFL era puts him in the consideration at least. So I'm gonna go Bart Starr there, and then my next pick's gonna be Drew Brees. Having Brady, Mahomes, and Rodgers, I don't feel great about picking Brees here. It seems like a lot of recency bias, but Breeze won that Super Bowl. Just a really consistent performer every year of his career.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Has the statistics. Not he wasn't close to Brady or Manning. Like, even though he played in the same time, same era, he was always the next tier below. But just the longevity of his career and what he did, I think Drew Brees deserves.
Real quick, Jack, before you go, Drew Brees changed the fortunes of 2 franchises. When he was released by San Diego, he was almost signed by Nick Saban in Miami, and Saban went with Culpepper, and Brees ended up in New Orleans, and the rest is history. Jack, what do you got?
So, JJ, you have Brady,
Mahomes, Rodgers, Starr, and Brees.
So you might have the guy in 20 years from now, the top 4 passers in NFL history: Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, and Brees in terms of passing yards. I'm gonna go with another guy who. So our first 2 picks in the draft are Brady and Manning, and there's one guy who really did kind of compete with them for 15, 20 years.
Oh no.
So I think he's a better pick than Brees. I'm taking Big Ben Roethlisberger. He beat Brady, beat Manning, won a couple Super Bowls in an era where both of them were playing, won Super Bowls in an era where Drew Brees was playing. So I really like Big Ben as that, a winner in a time where it was tough to win with some tough quarterbacks.
So my question is, you'll take the rapist over the guy who welfare frauded Mississippi?
Yeah,
is that true?
I was going to say not my greatest character pick, but
you love.
No,
those.
don't say that.
Yes, I will. I won't say because it get me in trouble there.
Yeah.
I gotta go with the Mississippi man, Brett Favre, as my pick there, and then let's see, who are I going to go with? I had it in my brain. Now my brain ain't working. And then I'm going to go with somebody you guys had never seen play. His name is Fran Tarkenton. Fran Tarkenton
He came up my research. I didn't even write him down.
Fran Tarkenton was the
Vikings?
Was Vikings, yep. And he led them to a lot of Super Bowls, and he ran all over the place. Played for the Giants first, but I'm going with Fran. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you guys have 1 pick and then 2 picks and then 1 pick.
He was really one of the first guys who was kind of like one of the scrambler quarterbacks, right?
Okay, Jack, your pick.
I should take McNair for Tommy T, but he's not that
I
good.
have McNair on my list. I was going to
I'm going to go with another guy who could run around, throw the ball, won a Super Bowl, had a real good receiver to play with, took over from a legend.
Yep.
I'm going to go Steve Young.
Yep.
Yeah, Young's a great pick late. I like it.
What he did was tough. I mean, to come in and replace, just like what Rodgers technically did, So.
The only issue I have with Young is he had the 1 year, and then he went to the USFL to start. But Young's a good pick. I'm not going to argue with that pick. I think McNair would have been better. Justin, your last 2 picks.
McNair.
McNair was a great quarterback. Then he got shot by his girlfriend, who he was cheating on his wife with.
He also played in a lot of run-heavy offenses.
Yeah.
He probably
pick him.
Go.
I'm gonna go Jim Kelly.
Oh, that's the one I was gonna pick last. Good pick.
I didn't get to see him either. But led his Bills teams to 4 consecutive Super Bowls. That's pretty impressive on its own. Had a pretty good career statistically speaking. He was a good playoff performer. Didn't get it done in the big game, but I think Jim Kelly, pretty decent value there. And then my last one here, I'm between 2 guys, but I'm gonna go Warren Moon here.
I got Moon on my list too. Yeah.
Won an MVP, 9-time Pro Bowler. Played on those original Oilers teams. Started his career in Canada, so he didn't come into the NFL until a little later on. But has some pretty impressive statistics and always played on some crappy Oilers teams, but elevated them somewhat. So.
All right, Jack, guess what? You get your last pick.
I really want to leave this guy to you just to see if you respect the logo on your shirt right now, but I'm going to take Kurt Warner.
I have Warner on my list.
Yeah, Kurt.
I would have stuck him.
You got to give him a pick with his son is now the quarterback for Temple right now.
He was going to be picked last by me, but
you know what? Kurt Warner won a Super Bowl. Was in another Super Bowl that they really probably should have won. Didn't play. What are they? 10-point favorites. Patriots beat him. You're just an all-around solid quarterback. Another thing is, 10 years later, he dragged that Arizona Cardinals team to the Super Bowl. And if he didn't throw, this is not a good look, but if he didn't throw that goddamn stupid interception, he would have won a Super Bowl at the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I forgot about the Cardinals.
Against Big Ben.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go with the last pick. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left to pick from that I have on my list. And shit. Let me think. This is not easy because one guy I don't like. I'm going to go with Dan Fouts of the San Diego Chargers.
Wow.
He was a great quarterback late. Your dad will like that pick, by the way, Justin.
Air Coryell.
Yeah, Coryell. Just to give a quick wrap-up of the picks, Justin's got Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, Starr, Breeze, Kelly, and Moon. I like that Kelly pick. Jack's got Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Johnny Unitas, Staubach, Big Ben, which I like that pick. Young, I like that one. I wonder would have taken him. And I got Montana, Elway, Bradshaw, Aikman, Favre, Tarkenton, and Fouts. Pretty good draft. So, who would you go on with, Justin? Anybody you had left on your list?
You.
My honorable mention was actually about to be Dan Fouts. Ken Anderson was one I had.
Oh yeah, Cardinals.
I had a couple. I had Otto Graham.
I have Otto Graham on mine.
I had Sammy Baugh.
Oh yeah, Sammy Baugh.
And then I had,
Back before
and
they had
this
a forward
doesn't.
pass.
I never would pick this guy after what happened yesterday, but I had Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, who are kind of a couple years away from being in this conversation. It's obviously probably a Super Bowl.
Anybody else you have on your list?
Eli.
I have Eli. Eli was tough. I almost picked Eli before Fouts, but I we had the discussion at home. So
Joe Flacco.
Flacco, yeah.
No.
The other on my list, left on my list, I had
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he is on there too. Eli, I had Russell Wilson, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Steve McNair, Jim Plunkett, who was left behind, Otto Graham, and then Josh Allen, just because I had to throw him on so I didn't get crap. But not a bad draft. Justin, any final words before we call it a day?
Just in terms of the all-time quarterback debate, one of the things I always found interesting was, nowadays, obviously, how the league's changed. More passes are being thrown. The statistics looks better nowadays. So I think it kind of makes it hard to distinguish between guys like Phillip Rivers and, even Matt Stafford, who just won a Super Bowl. Yeah. I think he was close to consideration versus some of the guys that we drafted who didn't have close to the statistics that those guys had. But, obviously, they won. They maybe won a little more or, they were just considered better in their specific areas.
That's a great point, Justin. A+ on the point. A good take. Jack, final take on our draft in this.
Yeah, like on his, I picked Johnny Unitas. Johnny Unitas is probably the best quarterback of his generation, right? And so
yeah.
And he won. It said he won 3 MVPs in a time when running backs were winning.
I was going to take Joe Namath. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So listen, I'm kidding. It was a great draft. Justin, thanks a lot for joining us. A great show. Really appreciate you coming in. We will have you back. We're going to get the gang all together. Jack, you have to come in and put up with me because that's the way it goes. But again, thanks, Justin, for coming in. Any shout-outs? Want to shout out Mom and Dad?
Shout out Mom and Dad.
There you go.
Shout out Lady Gaga. It's her birthday today.
Oh, Lady Gaga.
Big 75. I'm looking forward to coming back on. Thanks for having me.
That's great. So, and like I said, Justin Trevisani, our guest this week on this is episode 5. The news is we're going to be off the air for 2 weeks. I'm heading over the pond to Scotland and Wales to do some traveling with my wife and daughter. Jack will be home, so don't go rob my house, please. He will be there.
Yeah, let's announce that to the whole world.
Well, you're going to be there.
Right. And then
don't forget to lock the house.
Before we leave, shout out Jim Irsay, just because it's always fun to shout out Jim Irsay.
Have a great trip, Jim.
Thank you very much. So for it all boils down to this. I'm Jim Boyle, and we'll see you on down the road. Thanks for listening to this episode of It All Boils Down to This, recorded at WCTV studios in our hometown of Wilmington, Massachusetts. We are always open to any ideas, critiques, topics, and guests. So if anyone out there in podcast world needs to get a hold of us, we can be reached via email at jboyle22@comcast.net. Along with Jack Boyle, I'm Jim Boyle. Make sure to tune in to the next edition of It All Boils Down to This.